Hello everyone, this is Sid and welcome back to Cine Culture. So the MCU just put out the Echo mini series. I have put a review of it if you want to watch it. It's up here. So now that there are no Disney Plus shows or movies coming out anytime soon, I thought maybe I could put out my ranking of all the MCU Disney Plus shows that have been put out so far. Do tell me what your personal ranking is. This is my ranking, my thoughts on these shows. This is just my personal opinion. So be sure to chime in the comment section what your ranking is. So with that, let's just get into the ranking. So in 10th place is going to be She-Hulk. Now this was never a show I was really excited for. I am not a person who prefers watching comedies, and the writers themselves admitted that didn't know how to write a courtroom drama. So this was essentially a comedy series in the MCU, which I feel was not needed because all of the MCU films have comedy in them. Especially if you look at films like Thor: Love and Thunder, so this was a completely unnecessary show. The actress who played Jennifer Walters was great, and I also liked the fourth wall breaking. But overall, the show was not at all for me. The humor was extremely hit or miss. I don't remember laughing at all while watching the show, and the last episode just felt like a cop out. They wanted to pull the rug from under the audience, so they did a gimmick. The show was based around the gimmick. So I feel this was not at all a show that needed to exist, and it doesn't add anything to the MCU. Next, I would put Secret Invasion. Now, Secret Invasion was the show I was most looking forward to in Phase 5 because in the comics it is a huge storyline. This is essentially an Avengers level threat. So, when the show started, I was already put off by the fact that they were not doing this on an Avengers level scale, but they're making Nick Fury the main character. But I was still hopeful. This could have been a good thriller espionage series. But the pacing was rushed. They completely wasted the characters. And they had some really baffling decisions. They made some really baffling decisions with the story, with the characters. The acting was great, but the rest of the show just felt like a slog. I got bored watching it, and the finale reached new heights of disbelief. Like, what are they doing? And this was essentially one of those MCU projects which I was most disappointed by. Next up, I would put Echo. The review is up there on my channel. But essentially, I liked what the show was going for. It felt like a right direction for Marvel to go to. It was gritty, it was nuanced. Kingpin was phenomenal, and I really liked the actress who plays the main character. I feel the character was given a lot more depth than she got in the Hawkeye show. But once again, the pacing was extremely rushed and the characters were not properly developed. This is a problem with all of the Disney Plus shows that it is extremely rushed. You need to have longer episodes. Each of these have 5 to 6 episodes. And by the time you get to the end, you have to rush through the storylines. You do not allow them to breathe. And this show suffered the most from it. It had only 5 episodes and a lot to juggle. So by the end, the resolution didn't feel deserved. I didn't feel anything. The action was good, the characters were good, but overall, this was another lackluster show. Next up, Miss Marvel. Now, this I will say is there is a huge gap between Echo and Miss Marvel because Miss Marvel was a show that I really enjoyed when it came out. Right out of the gate, Iman Vellani is great. She is one of my favorite new additions to the MCU. She just has this charismatic personality that makes the character pop. Kamala Khan is a great character to watch on screen. She's very entertaining. She was also the best part of the Marvels for me. And the show itself had a unique visual style that I really enjoyed. The first episode, especially, had a certain way of expressing Kamala's emotions, what she was thinking, that I really liked. But episode 3 onwards, I feel that the show lost some of its steam. When they go to Karachi and we dive into her family backstory and the nuances of all of that, it felt like a separate season of story that was dropped into this first season. And it also felt very rushed. There were too many storylines being juggled, which made the finale seem very forced. Like the first two episodes and the last episode feel like part of one story, but the middle section, episodes 3, 4, 5, they don't feel like they fit into the same story, the same season. The main issue here is that they had too much to juggle, and I feel they should have just gone for a simple storyline and left the backstory and the family stuff, all of that, for a second season. Next up, What If? Now, this is a show that I was really intrigued by when it was announced. Season 1, I can't say I really enjoyed all of the episodes. The idea of exploring the multiverse, how one small decision changes so many different stories of characters that we know and love from the MCU, it was a really interesting path to go on. And I really enjoyed a couple of the episodes from season 1. I cannot say I enjoyed all of the episodes, but I enjoyed a lot of them, especially the Doctor Strange episode. That might be one of my favorite MCU Disney Plus episodes overall. But I was a little let down by season 1. Season 2, on the other hand, explored more characters and they went in directions that I was not hoping, and I really liked where they went. Now, I didn't like one or two stories here as well, but I feel that this season 2, had more weightage. The animation style was better. There was no nuance with each of the stories that they explored. I would like to point out the Hela episode in particular. You delved into a character who was a villain in Thor Ragnarok, and you gave us a new perspective on that character. I really liked that. Plus, there were more team ups this time around. So, season 2 is what edges out this show above the ones below it. Season 1 was also good, but season 2 was better in my opinion. Overall, the show is a nice addition to the MCU. It doesn't add much to it, but it's a fun little show. It's an anthology, it's a fun little show. Next up, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, this is a show that a lot of people hated, but I personally really liked what they did with the characters. I get all the complaints about the villain. Even I didn't like what they did with the villain and the whole storyline about the flag smashers. But I really liked the development that they gave to Sam and Bucky, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, especially Bucky Barnes. He was one of my favorite characters from the movies, and I like to see a different side of him. I really liked the episode where we get to see him getting rid of his brainwashing. And I also liked to see more of Falcon. He became one of my favorite characters after this show. He was never a standout in the movies, but the show made him one of my favorite characters. I also really liked the addition of Zemo. He was a scene stealer. And I would say John Walker is one of the best new characters in the MCU's Phase 4. The nuance, the growth, the backstory. We get to see character, a type of character that we have never seen before in the MCU. A lot of people didn't like him, but I would say he is the most fleshed out character from the show. I didn't like the rushed redemption that he got in the finale, but I would like to see him come back and do more in the Thunderbolts. Now, it once again has the same problems of rushed pacing, too many storylines being juggled, but this feels more balanced than the other shows put out by the MCU. And the character work is a huge part of that. Next up, Hawkeye. Now, this is one of those shows that I was not really looking forward to when it was announced, but I was really impressed by how good it actually turned out to be. Hawkeye is one of my favorite characters from the MCU, and I always felt that he didn't get the recognition he deserved. I liked the extended role he got in Avengers Endgame, that's where he really got to shine. And diving more into his character is what I really liked from the Hawkeye show. Haley Steinfeld was also a great addition. Kate Bishop, again, one of my favorite additions in Phase 4. She has a really fun personality. Her dynamic with Clint was the highlight of the show for me. And I liked how she was cocky, but at the same time, she had her flaws. We got to see the character struggle and eventually become Hawkeye. In the midst, we had a whole conspiracy going on. This was a Christmas show, so we got a lot of festive vibe. I really liked the entire vibe of the show. Now, you can say that the finale once again felt rushed. I personally had no problems with it. The only thing I was a little iffy on was how they handled Kingpin. His characterization felt very off from the Daredevil show. I will say Echo portrayed the character of Kingpin better than Hawkeye did. But other than that, it was a fun watch. And this is one of the show that I would like to rewatch. In third place, I have Moon Knight. Now this is a show that I was really excited for, and it lived up to my hype. Oscar Isaac gives a phenomenal performance as a guy suffering from multiple personality disorder. Stephen Grant and Mark Spector, both his dominant personalities feel like different characters. I was really impressed by how good Oscar Isaac portrayed the role. We got to explore themes of mental illness, trauma, PTSD, family abuse, and this was quite a mature show for the MCU. Exploring the Egyptian side of things, Egyptian gods, Khonshu. I also really like the cinematography and the visuals in the show. Also really like the costuming for Moon Knight, for Mr. Knight, and overall, this was a show that I really was invested in. Now, once again, it had the same rushed feeling in the finale, but I think this balanced the story and the characters way better than other MCU shows. It is all carried by Oscar Isaac's central performance, this broken guy who is technically a reluctant hero. In second place, I have WandaVision. This was the first Disney Plus show, and it was really, really good. Wanda Maximoff is one of my top 10 MCU characters, and I liked that we got to explore more of her character, her backstory, how she got her powers, her relationship with Vision. And I liked that when the show was airing, we always had this mysterious undertone on what is going on. Each episode had a cliffhanger, and you had to wait an entire week to get answers. I really liked that. Going week to week, following up with the mystery. Now, once again, I think this is a common thing with the MCU Disney Plus shows, but the finales always feel rushed and kind of underwhelming. But even then, I really liked the visuals, the characterization. Agatha Harkness was a standout. I liked that they brought back pre established MCU characters like Jimmy Woo, Darcy Lewis, Monica Rambeau, and Paul Bettany. He gave a great performance as Vision. I never really liked Vision in the MCU. I feel like he was always a side character who didn't get to do much, but he really popped in the show. Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany gave fantastic performances which kept me engaged throughout. I really liked seeing both of them on screen together. And coming in number one, to no one's surprise, obviously, is Loki. Now, this is a show that I was really baffled by when it was announced because Loki had already had a great character arc in the MCU. We didn't need this show. But then season 1 dropped, and I was really taken aback by its quality. We explored themes of loneliness, self doubt, existential crisis, and I was really impressed by it. Tom Hiddleston gives a great central performance as Loki. He was always great. He's one of my favorite characters in the MCU, probably one in my top three. And season 1 introduced so many likable characters. You had Sylvie, you had Mobius. I was impressed by Jonathan Major's scene stealing performance as He Who Remains. And the way season 1 left off, I was really excited for season 2. And then season 2 appeared and it solidified this show as one of the best MCU projects. We explored more of the TVA, we explored more of Loki, what makes him tick, what kind of character he is. We got new characters like Ouroboros, Victor Timely. We got more time with pre established characters. And by the end, it gave Loki a complete arc. The two seasons gave Loki an arc which perfectly complement his character in the movies. And where his story ends, the sacrifice he makes, it makes for a great character in the MCU. It perfectly brings his story full circle, and I really loved what they did with it. Along with this, the cinematography, the visual style, the background score, the costume designing, the VFX, they were all top notch. I had no complaints with this show at all. And I wish the MCU makes more projects, more shows, more movies with this type of content. So yeah, there you have it. That was my ranking. I know a lot of you won't agree with it, but this is my personal take. Do tell me in the comments what your ranking of the MCU Disney Plus shows would be, and what other videos you would love to see. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more content like this.